Hey guys, welcome back to TCG Bros. Today we are doing a kind of follow-up video to the Blue Eyes White Dragon deck profile I just posted. I know a lot of times people want to know how do you play this, how do the combos for the deck work, things like that. So today we're going to do basically what I'm going to refer to as draw testing. I'm going to shuffle this deck just like I would at an event, and then we'll go over what my hand is, what our best plays are given the circumstances of just the draw. Obviously, by draw testing, we don't see or we can't really assume what an opponent would do, but we can think as to what would be our best interest for what to do with the cards we have. Especially if we're going to go first, we can definitely kind of do those just like hypothetical situation things. So as you well know, I'm filming this the same day I filmed the deck profile, so I'm still waiting on my two alternatives that are not in the mail to come. So whenever we see a Dragon Ravine, we're going to assume that it is a Blue Eyes alternative dragon, because that's what our proxies are going to be for the two that are missing today. So without further ado, let's go ahead and do some hand testing with our Blue Eyes deck. Okay, so obviously if we're in an event, we're going to shuffle our deck a bunch of times, which I'll show because I know people would assume that somebody would stack the deck for a video to make it look good or something like that. But we're not going to do that, so we'll give it a few good shuffles. And then we'll cut and see what our 5 draw cards would be. So let's assume we're going to go first. So we have this starting off to not look like a good first turn draw hand, but as you can see, that just changed with our 4th card, and as with our 5th. So if we were to go first, this would not be our best setup, but here is one of the things you need to consider when you're playing this deck. We have only 2 options that we can do to advance our game state right now as we're going first. We have the option to activate Cards of Consonance and pitch the Whitestone of Ancients and draw 2, but we also have a Melody of Awakening Dragon, and the reason that we would want to activate Melody of Awakening Dragon before Cards of Consonance is because if we Cards of Consonance before activating Melody, we could draw into targets for future use of Melody of Awakening Dragon. So by searching out 2 cards with Melody, we take away the option of drawing into those cards through Card of Consonance, basically. So, given this hand, if we're going first, in all reality, this is probably the play that I would recommend making. We would activate Melody of Awakening Dragon, discard our Raigeki. We've gone first, it's a dead draw for us. Return of the Dragon Lords is a more viable option because sooner or later the Blue Eyes alternative we're about to add to our hand off of this Melody of Awakening Dragons is going to be in the graveyard, and we'll have a Blue Eyes in our hand, so we would search our Blue Eyes alternative and 1 Blue Eyes White Dragon, shuffle our deck. Opponent will cut our deck. So we'll add our 2 Blue Eyes, Melody will be in our graveyard, and now our hand looks a little bit better. So now by doing this far, now we have more possibilities. We can reveal Blue Eyes, special summon alternative, which we're going to do because we want to have some sort of board presence by this point in time. But now we have a decision to go into Blue Eyes Spirit Dragon by normal summoning this, but since we have Cards of Consonance, it's probably a better idea for us to go ahead and try to advantage and get this into the grave, because we're going to Cards of Consonance, discard our Whitestone of Ancients, and in the end phase we will special summon a Dragon Spirit of White by this card's effect. So we will draw 2 off of our Cards of Consonance, and we've hit 2 Dragon Shrines. So you could see that as really good or not too good, but in this instance I would say that drawing into 2 Dragon Shrines would be very good for your first turn. So At that point, we would activate Dragon Shrine. We would send a Dragon Spirit of White to the grave. And then, if you haven't yet by this point in the game, I would send your Archbrave Dragon to the grave, because basically, Archbrave is the worst thing you could draw into your hand, because you can't trade in it, and you have no way of getting this one copy of this card out of your hand except by Melody of Awakening Dragon. So that one you want to get out of your deck, out of the way as fast as possible. So by this point, we're still in the main phase 1. You can only activate one Dragon Shrine per turn, so we would pass to the end phase. In the end phase, the White Stone of Ancients effect would activate, and we would special summon a Dragon Spirit of White. It would not get its effect because this is turn 1. Now, the game, we would enter our opponent's standby phase, so they would draw a card, they would enter their standby phase. Now what would happen is Archbrave Dragon's effect would activate in the graveyard, and we could special summon another Dragon Spirit of White from our graveyard, which would also not get its effect because of the opponent not having any spells or traps on the field. But as you can tell, we went from having what looked to be not the greatest hand, starting out with Raigeki and a few other things, to having a big board presence and a decent hand for the following turn. So for the following turn, after whatever our opponent does, assuming he doesn't OTK us with something crazy, the following turn we can have Return of the Dragon Lords to special summon Archbrave or any of the others. We have a Dragon Shrine to send another Dragon Spirit of White, which would be our final one of the 3, and potentially advantage some more off that. So that's just one way it can unfold, but we'll do one more of these hand tests, and then depending on how long this video gets, maybe I'll add on some DevPro dual replays, or maybe that will be a separate video. At this point in time, I'm thinking that may need to be a separate video just for the sake of time. But anyway, now in the best case scenario, we would have been able to synchro and do more in that first turn, but given what we drew, that would be one of the most optimal setups we could have accomplished. So okay, so last time we said that we went first. This time, let's assume we're going to go second. Okay, so if we're going second, we're going to draw 6 cards. So our draw for the beginning of our turn would have been a max C. You would hope to see that during your first turn. That way, if your opponent on their first turn special summoned, you could max C, and then you could potentially advantage a lot more. So, just as last time, we started off with the cards of Constance and a Melody. So the first thing we would want to do is Melody, and at this point we would really want to discard the 1-for-1 because we want to keep Maxi in hand. It's early game, so we would want to Melody of Awakening Dragon for our alternative and Blue Eyes by discarding the 1-for-1, just because just 1-for-1 was the least beneficial card to us at the time. So at this point, we're ready to activate cards of Constance. Just like the last time, during the end phase, the White Stone of Ancients effect is going to become live and great, and we're going to special summon from our deck. So we'll draw 2 cards off of that. As you can see, we got another Melody of Awakening Dragon in hand off of that draw. So not the best setup given what we have in hand, but what we will do at this point, because you'll notice we have Melody of Awakening Dragon in hand and a Return of the Dragon Lords in hand, we will more than likely want to play Melody again, discard a Blue Eyes, and now we'll want to add, alright, hypothetically that right there is our proxy for alternative because I'm waiting on mine in the mail, and add another Blue Eyes. So we still have a Blue Eyes in the hand that we can work with alternative from. So we'll add these back. So we would have a Blue Eyes, 2 alternatives in hand, a Return of the Dragon Lords, a Maxx C, and a Raigeki. And by making all the plays we've made up to this point, we've used up 6 cards from our deck without losing any cards in our hand. So that's pretty good. At this point, what we would do is, assuming because we went second, the opponent had anything at all on their field that was going to disadvantage us, we may want to Raigeki right now. So assume we're facing BA, they have 2 Dantes on board. I would more than likely Raigeki just to blow it up. They'll react and do whatever they want. At that point, once all of their monsters are off of the field, if they were to special summon anything, we would obviously Maxx C. So, first thing we would do now is special summon alternative from our hand by revealing the Blue Eyes to our opponent. Then we would check our grave. We can see that we have 1 Blue Eyes White Dragon in the grave that we can special summon through Return of the Dragon Lords. So we would activate Return of the Dragon Lords, special summon our Blue Eyes, and this would go to the grave. Now, the good thing is, if I know a lot of people don't use Mirror Force, but if someone was to use something like that or to Raigeki us next turn, we can banish Return of the Dragon Lords and our monsters would be protected from that. So, now that leaves us with a Maxx C, a Blue Eyes alternative, and a Blue Eyes White Dragon in hand. We would commence battle phase, assuming they would try to use Mirror Force or something. We could basically negate it by Return of the Dragon Lords. Now, in main phase 2 of this turn, you have an option to overlay, which is what I would recommend doing, because overlaying with this deck is pretty much just going to allow you to continuously be detaching things, putting things in the grave. So, the options I presented in my deck profile would give us these options right here for our overlay. A number 38 Hope Harbinger, a Gimmick Puppet Giant Grinder, a Dark Matter, a Dragluon, and a Divine Dragonite Felgrand. Given that this is very early in the game in main phase 2, because they cannot Valor you, what I would recommend doing would be to go into Dark Matter. Now, the reason we would want to go into Dark Matter is because this is turn 2 of the game. We can go into Dark Matter, force our opponent to banish things, and we still have a decent hand set up for the following turn because we have Maxx C. So if they special summon or want to make any plays of any kind, we're going to advantage off of it 100%. So let's say we use Dark Matter's effect. What 3 dragons do we want to send to the grave? We want to send Divine Dragon Lord Felgrand because we don't want it in our hand, because it's useless in our hand. We want to send a Dragon Spirit of White because, once again, we don't want it in our hand. And finally, the following card that we have to send has to have a different name from the other 2. So at that point, we want to dig out our Arc Brave Dragon, pitch that to the grave, and then shuffle and cut, obviously, once more. Our opponent now has to banish 3 monsters from his deck, which is really good. So now we can go to the end phase, and at the very beginning of this turn, we had a White Stone of Ancients we discarded. So now we can special summon a Dragon Spirit of White from our deck. And now we would let the opponent go into his second turn. During the standby phase, Arc Brave Dragon would activate, and we could either special summon a White or Dragon Spirit of White or the Divine Dragon Lord Felgrand. So as you can tell from that one turn, we set up a crazy board presence. We are immune to Raigeki at this point because we have Return of the Dragon Lords in our graveyard. We have Maxx C, so if they want to do anything, we're going to advantage. We've already forced them to banish some cards, potentially banished more through Dragon Spirit of White. So I think that's where I'm going to stop our demonstration for the day. So that's the vast majority of your combos, and the only other combos that this deck really has to offer, besides just making good choices on what to activate first, is Sage Knight. So assume you opened up Sage Knight and the White Stone of Ancients. with no cards of consequence. You would more than likely want to normal summon the Ancient Whitestone, activate Sage Knight from hand, send it to the graveyard. You would special summon a Dragon Spirit of White. Then in the end phase, you can special summon another one by Whitestone of Ancient's effect. But other than that, the combos I went over are pretty much just like your autopilot things you want to do every game. So, like I said, the combos for this deck are not very complicated, but I hope this helped. I know a lot of you guys, like I said in the past, really liked it when we did deck demonstration type videos. And there's a lot of other situations you can get into later on in the game, like with Neo Blue Eyes. That's always going to come around later in the game as you have enough on your field and in the graveyard to get the 3 Blue Eyes. If this card attacks, you can send Ultimate to the grave and attack again, and it probably win you the game. So, but like I said, the main combos of this build were just demonstrated here. If you guys need to know anything else, I can make another video in the future perhaps. But if you're new to our channel, make sure you subscribe for more Yu-Gi-Oh videos every week, as well as some other TCG randomness every once in a while. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure you leave a thumbs up on this video, and I'll see you later. Hey guys, welcome back to TCG Bros. Today I have a really special deck profile for you guys. This was actually the deck that kind of built the TCG Bros channel from the very beginning, and this deck profile is long overdue for our channel, but I've played Blue Eyes probably since about the time of the Maiden Structure deck's release, but it took me a while to get this deck together. But anyway, let's go ahead and get into our new Blue Eyes deck. And